Hello, and welcome to the Divorced Dadvocate, divorce support for dads, where we help dads create a healthy and less traumatic divorce. My name is Jude Sandoval, and I'm your host. I created this podcast in the Divorced Advocate community as a result of my own high conflict divorce, and because you as a dad deserve all the resources necessary to thrive through this challenging time. I encourage you to check out our website at thedivorcedadvocate.com, where there are resources that correspond to this episode, as well as free access to our membership community, where you will find live meetings, free workshops and courses, private discussion groups, and more. And now, on to this week's episode. Today, my guest is a father, husband, grandfather, mentor, friend, bow hunter, lover of the outdoors, fellow lover of the outdoors, and also a licensed marriage and family therapist. His practice specialty is manhood, masculinity, and relationships, and is continually exploring new avenues of strength, vitality, and purpose for not only himself and the men he works with. That's his name. Ken works from the premise that masculinity is good, that each man brings significance into our world, particularly as a dad, and that men have been designed to move with freedom, presence, and strength, along with individual and relational counseling. He provides groups for men to build personal integrity and strength so men will influence their world with intent and passion. Please help me and welcome Ken Curry.
And the crowd goes wild.
Awesome.
Right?
Yes.
Thank you, Jude.
Fellow outdoor, yeah, and I should mention that you are right here in my hometown of Denver, Colorado, and we're both fellow hunters and outdoorsmen. And I guess it's kind of a given thing. Well, not anymore. I don't know how long you've been in Denver, but it's kind of a given thing when you're in Colorado. At least was when I showed up. I had to learn that. You probably grew up and knew all that stuff, but I didn't.
Well, I grew up. So I've been in Denver. August actually is. I've been in Colorado for 40 years.
Wow,
it's kind of crazy. So, but I grew up in the state of Washington, in a place that was absolutely one of the more gorgeous places in the world. Actually, and outdoors activity was what I grew up with. It was awesome. Hunting, fishing, hiking, backpacking. Really beautiful area for sure. It was nice. In South Central Washington. A lot of you have heard of Hood River. Mount Hood is on the Oregon side, and on the Washington side is Mount Adams. And a little town called White Salmon, Washington is where I grew up.
White salmon, is that a type of salmon? White salmon?
White salmon is a legend.
Oh, okay.
About the salmon, and there's so many legends there. It's really cool. It's a high population of Native Americans in that area and everything. So a lot of the area has a lot of names like that. Yeah.
Interesting. So on that note, tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you got to Denver, how you got into doing the work that you're doing. Sure. And then I want us to start talking about what my intro was and how we can go from divorced or divorcing dad to solid man. You have the solid man process, and we'll talk a little bit about more about that too.
Sure. Let's see. So I grew up in the state of Washington, came out to Colorado. I went 2 years to Washington State University. I was studying to be a wildlife biologist at that time because I love the outdoors and hunting and everything.
It's kind of the same in licensed family and marriage therapy, isn't it?
Yeah, right. Wildlife, man. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, for sure. But then, pretty significant thing happened to me in my faith at that point. And so I actually came out to Colorado to go to Western Bible College, which actually it's one of the schools that started Colorado Christian University.
Okay.
And so by the time I finished with my degree, it had become Colorado Christian. But I was studying to be a pastor, and I was working on that. So my undergrad was pastoral studies. And and then shortly after that, a few years later, I got my master's degree from Colorado Christian in counseling. So I have that. That was in '94, and then after that, I got my postgraduate certificate in marriage and family from a place called Denver Family Institute here in town. And then, but my intent is to use my counseling degree, use that in a pastoral setting. And I was actually able to do that. And so from 1999 to 2007, I actually worked on staff at a church locally here, and was working with singles and small groups was the primary things that I did. And then significant thing happened at the church, which a lot of people left. The pastor had a pretty significant moral failing, and a lot of people left. And so they started laying off. So I was the first round of layoffs, which was a pretty significant, tough, very difficult season of my life. But it was at that point that then I chose to go into counseling, more of a clinical setting. And it was through that's where I started to streamline exactly what I was going to be doing with my work, and that's work with men. Okay. And because my work with men actually goes way back into the 80s. How long have you been in Colorado, Jude?
So I've been in Denver Metro for 30 years, so just a little bit less than you.
Yeah, and so you may remember the start of Promise Keepers.
Yes.
With Bill McCartney and all the things that happened with Sal and Nessie and
yes.
Just his family and so that trauma happened. Him, Sal dying of cancer and everything, and then consequently, then the Buffaloes had a pretty significant bunch of good years in football, right. And then. But because of that, the Promise Keepers movement was a significant thing. And I look at it back then, and there was a little blip on the screen.
And for those listening that don't know about the Promise Keepers, just clue them in a little bit about what that was and who Bill McCartney was, because you and I know, and
right.
Everybody in Denver knows.
Yeah, Bill McCartney was a coach of the Colorado University Buffaloes, the football team.
Right.
And so Sal and Nessie was the quarterback, and he died of cancer. Before I think he actually got Bill McCartney's daughter pregnant, and then he died. And so it's just this massive fiasco, really family trauma thing. And then the whole team with their main quarterback dying. And then they rallied around. Something happened with this, how teams, something will happen. And they became national championships shortly thereafter, champions after that. But because of all this stuff, there was something that happened with Bill McCartney because he wanted men to become strong fathers. And I think it was a really significant movement. And so he was, for years, they filled stadiums of just men getting together to be able to talk about fatherhood, talk about manhood, talk about what our responsibilities are as men. It was a really significant season. Eventually, I think Promise Keepers kind of shifted their focus and I think disappeared. I'm not sure what's going on with them. But at the time, this is the late 90s or late 80s and early 90s, there was a really significant blip on the screen for the whole idea of manhood and masculinity. And if you remember, that's when Iron John was written, Fire in the Belly by Sam Keane, King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, and Mankind Project was really kind of, and so there was I call it a blip on the screen, where this was a space where men were starting to think there's something here about our masculinity and our manhood, and there's something good about it. And then for some reason, it really faded off.
Right.
But now I feel like something else, it's starting to develop, and it's been more, instead of a blip on the screen, it feels like a wave that's really kind of growing. If you want to call it the manosphere or whatever, there's something happening in our world where men are starting to gather. They're starting to learn. There's things that are being written. It's really a lot of podcasts, like your own podcasts of people I want to be able to grow men. I want to support men. And it hasn't always been this way. But there's a really, a really strong conversation going on in our world about masculinity. And
I call it seeking. I find a lot of men that are seeking to understand masculinity, and there's just been exactly like say. So we're a couple of old guys, right? So we've kind of seen the beginnings of that, and then how it has waned. And I agree with you 100% that it feels like it's waned for a long time, and we haven't, and it's actually gone to the other end of the spectrum where I feel like a lot of the young men, and this might resonate with some of the young men, their dads that are listening, that are contemplating divorce or going through it, that just feel like not having a strong sense of purpose within their family or what they're doing in their careers or lives, and that has been something that we haven't cultivated very well societally in general. And
Yeah,
and I feel like we're that's starting where some of us that are older are starting to see, oh wow, we really need to do something about this, and the younger men are seeing that, oh wow, I need to do something about this because my life is not where I expected it to be. And so, that leads us into Solid Man and all the fantastic work that you're doing around that, and how do we start to change that or raise that tide, right, for all men.
Yep, exactly. And I think a really big part of this that's been difficult for most men is the cultural message that's out there. You think about, you hear the concept of toxic masculinity, but that actually goes way, way back. When we were young, they would call it a male chauvinist pig.
Yeah, right.
It was the same thing. And then in the 90s, it was more of the Ray Romanos and Homer Simpson and just the doofus. It's just, you're a doofus.
Right.
And it's the messages that we've gotten over the years that are not positive about men and dads and masculinity, that were oppressors, that were toxic and that type of thing. And so I think what men are doing is starting to reclaim the question, or answering the question, who am I really? What is a man? What is masculinity? And I think that's the big conversation that's going on. And I'm really glad we're asking it, because it's becoming so obvious that this is what the culture is thinking, but it's not obvious to me about this is what men are. Because I don't know any guy who's actually a doofus like Homer Simpson.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know men who are these extreme oppressors. I just know a bunch of guys that are just trying to make life happen and to do their best.
Absolutely. The majority of us are, and it's different for each one of us, and masculinity in how it shows up in each one of us is different. It's
absolutely
not the same. There's not just one definition of what healthy masculinity is. It's different for everybody, but there's some ideas around how we can ask those questions, what you're saying, and how we can come up with those answers.
Yep, exactly. So, a little more about me, just to finish up the whole thing.
Sure.
I've been married for 38 years. I've got 3 kids,
awesome.
1 grandson. He'll be 2 here next weekend, and really excited about being a granddad. That is a lot of fun. It's really cool.
I can't imagine. I'm in the middle of teenagers, so that's so far off.
Yeah, I'm just ahead of you a little bit there, Jude. So then developing, so what I've done over the last 15 years is developing my counseling practice and developing my groups for men. And so as I built my groups for men, what I decided to do was create a curriculum. And so with that curriculum, I created what is the Solid Man process. And so when I was choosing what my branding would be, I was thinking, what's the one word? If there's one word that I would want a man to be able to say he is, I chose it would be solid.
Yeah, nice.
And so I thought solid is the word. And if you think about it, if you are a solid man, that's what I want to be, right?
Right.
And solid comes with the word like I'm immovable. I'm a rock. I'm not fragile. I'm strong, right?
Yes.
And a really big part of this whole journey is, how do I move a man from thinking he's fragile crumbling under the pressure of your wife criticizing you or something like that, to becoming a man who is able to withstand just about anything. Right. And it's not just physical, but it's emotional, personal, relational, and it's becoming a really strong, internally referenced man. And so that actually is the root, or the core principle of the solid man process, is becoming internally referenced. Because what I believe is that most men have been trained to be externally referenced. And what that means is that we care more about what everybody else expects, what everybody's opinions are, making other people happy, living for approval, making sure I want everybody to like me, accomplishing achievements that would then give me validation.
Right.
It's everything that I'm talking about is, how do I get external validation? How do I get something outside of me to tell me that I'm good enough?
Right.
And so most of us live in this place to where it's like, I'm living according to everybody else's expectations, what everybody else wants.
Right. And so let me ask you this. So
sure.
Why, in the context of the dads that are listening, because again, I talk about it being an opportunity, and I would venture to say any one of the dads that's listening right now is really struggling with what you're talking about, internally referenced, externally referenced, trying to understand and do some self-reflection around themselves. And so why is it important? And then what are some ways to start doing that self-reflection and that internal in turning things internally referenced and analyzing things from that perspective?
Yeah, it's let's see. So I would say this would be the way to start doing that. So being able to start observing how my life is, just starting to watch. Who's driving the bus? What's driving the bus of my life? Is it expectations of other people? Is it making my wife happy? The whole line, happy wife, happy life.
Oh my God, it's awful.
It's some guy asked me, where did that come from? And I didn't even think about it. I said, the pit of hell. That's where that. And the other one, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. Right. And that line, it says, if mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, it means mom is an emotional terrorist.
Right.
I mean, that's just the way it is. And
it's a recipe for disaster in a relationship and in a family, for sure.
It's so horrible. But those are statements, because that actually is something that represents most guys' lives, is the happy wife, happy life. I think if you actually change it around, happy life, happy wife, actually makes sense.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
And that is the internally referenced life, where if I'm living according to me, and this is the one thing that really causes a lot of consternation with guys, is when I say, instead of living to please everybody else, live to please yourself.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Jude with a quick reminder about the Divorced Advocate Foundation for Fathers, which is our nonprofit that helps dads through divorce with legal education, free or reduced cost coaching, and mental health resources. If you own a business or know someone who does, there's an easy way to help by connecting credit card processing through our partner program. Part of the fees go straight to the foundation with no added cost to the business, and 98% of businesses are actually able to save money on their processing fees. It's a win-win. So if you know a business that accepts credit cards, get them in touch with me by sending a warm introduction email to jude@thedivorcedadvocate.com, or give me a call directly at 720-255-1021.
And oftentimes that feels really selfish to guys. And it feels selfish because that's what we've been trained, that you can't live like that.
Exactly. Right.
But if I have a happy life and I'm living according to what I need, I'm asking for what I want, I'm communicating clearly those things, then, and I have myself as my focus, where I'm actually driving my own life, the internal reference, driven according to what I want, who I am, And all the internal resources I have, which is a giant thing inside of us, we got so much going on.
Right.
But to answer the question you're saying, for the guy that's wondering, first I was saying observe, just watch, pay attention to how things are floating. And then the other thing is there's two questions that are really, really important for each man to ask and actually answer. The first question is, who am I? And the second question is, what do I want? Now, the problem is, Jude, almost every guy out there can't answer either one of those.
Right.
You know?
Well, and the problem with the divorced dads right now is they can't go ask their wife that anymore. Right. I mean, and that described me exactly, which was, who am I? I don't know, because I'm trying to make somebody else happy and make this family work, because I'm externally focused on creating a different environment or better environment, or making her happy, or making the kids happy, etc. And not really thinking, so much to the extent selling my business, starting in a new career, doing this because of that, etc. And not ever asking those questions and going to what you said. And like Dr. Robert Glover says, which is, create your life.
Yeah.
And hopefully you're doing that before you get married, and then carrying that through your relationship. But now, if we're getting a divorce, it's a huge opportunity for us to ask those two questions and then go forward with what you want to do.
Right. And so the divorce is, if you take it as a really important, it's not necessarily positive. Obviously, divorce is really horrible, wretched. It's tough. You're getting ruined financially. But the thing is, taking it as an opportunity to make the big shifts in your life.
Right.
This is the time to make it, because most guys, think about the classic stereotypical what do you call it, midlife crisis, right? I've been working 20 years, 20 years at the same place, and you realize, what the heck am I doing? I'm with the same woman for 20 years. What the heck am I doing? And you blow it all up. You get it. You get divorced. And then you move on, and all you do is replicate the same old thing.
Right.
I get a new woman. I get a new job, but I'm doing the same exact thing. I'm still externally referenced. I'm still living to please. I'm still whatever. I haven't made the core changes that I need to. And that's kind of normally what that is. Oh yeah, you got to have a Harley in there somewhere as well.
Or a sports car.
Yeah, or the sports car, right? But see, that's the thing is but I'm not changing it. And so being able to take the opportunity that this moment is a moment where I can change everything. I had that relationship was based on a really unhealthy platform. And so from here, as a dad, by myself, with my kids, or whatever, I can change the complete trajectory of my life. And where if I do start another relationship or whatever, it's going to be based on a totally different platform of me living my own life and being strong internally. So now I can actually have a relationship, because a really healthy relationship is based on not the "you complete me" BS. That "you complete me" thing from Jerry Maguire and any other chick flick is it's all this neediness. I have to have you in my life in order to feel whole and complete. Going to someone else to feel whole and complete or to get validation is the total recipe for disaster. But that is, so many of our marriages are based on that. Is I feel so good about myself when I'm with you. But a really healthy platform is, I don't need you.
Yes.
I don't need you. I want you in my life, but I don't need you.
Right.
And so this is a great opportunity for a man to be able to sit in this really horrible space for a while and realize, or get to the spot where you're able to realize, I'm okay. Yes. I'm not going to die. I'm going to survive. I'm a good man. Horrible thing just happened to me, but I'm going to get through this. I'm okay. Right. And from that platform of I'm okay, and that's part of the whole thing of who am I? I'm a good man. I'm a good dad. I'm doing my best. I'm doing everything I can to provide for my kids. And from there, you're able to actually then start life on a totally different platform.
Yeah. Let me ask you, what do you feel like is the greatest challenge in making that shift? Because so we talk about oftentimes how these relational dynamics are a carryover from our childhood and relationships that we had and growing up and whatever environment we had with our parents and adult life or early adult life. And so you can start to see that. I mean, the shift's going to happen, right? Because you're getting a divorce. So there's going to be a big shift happening. Whether you want to embrace that and try to, like you said, drive the bus of the shift, then is going to have a huge determining factor. But what do you feel then if you're, and again, I would say that most of the dads listening are kind of looking at that. If they start to become internally referenced, then what do you feel are some of the biggest challenges then to like take that next step? And then what is that next step for them?
Yeah, the biggest challenge is not falling into the same old pattern. And I think everybody feels this thing as soon as that woman is gone, or as soon as she's starting to reject me. I have this deep, deep pull to find another woman to fill that void that's within me. Right? You're
describing, exactly what I did after my divorce.
Well,
for years.
I know. So it might be one more. All these women, I'm just rocking through these women, trying to but it's all trying to find that void that's in me of who am I?
Yeah.
Am I really good enough? And this is the whole idea of shame. Toxic shame, which says I'm not good enough. Something's wrong with me. I don't measure up.
Yeah.
Which
is really hard right now because that's the only message we hear out there, particularly around dads. And you use the Homer Simpson and Peter Griffin one is the one I use all of the time. And that's all we see and we hear, particularly around dads. And I'm not even just talking to men in general, like dads is being bumbling. And so there's just this inherent feeling of no worth in this process. And we're not going to get into it, but then the family law courts,
oh my gosh,
those are structured, and none of it is meant to uplift equally both sides of this. And so some of the dads come to me so broken and so upset. There might be alienation. Kids don't know. Their kids don't understand what alienation is happening, and they hear all this in society and like the Incredibles 2 movie and all of this other stuff, and they watch The Simpsons, and they're thinking the same stuff about their dad. And the reality of it is the research and the studies show the complete opposite, which is the most impactful thing in a child's life is the involvement of a father.
Of course.
And so, man, it's so hard for them. And so I got to say all the time that there is hope for the dads, because there's guys like you doing the work, me doing the work. There's other guys that are showing up, listening to this, coming to meetings, getting in therapy. And we just got to continue to reiterate this message that you're important. You're important because of who you are, number one, but you're hugely important to your child's lives.
Absolutely. And so just taking that, so you are getting crushed, you are getting destroyed from all angles. So the thing that's happening, that's actually a really positive thing, is there is nothing out there that is validating you. Your wife has rejected you. The courts are rejecting you. The culture rejects you. There's nothing out there to be able to get something, complete me and make me feel whole again. Yeah. Right. Which is, I'm saying this is a really positive thing, because guess where you're going to find that? Where are you going to get the answer? Am I whole and complete? Am I good enough? And all that, to be able to answer the question of shame, because I think shame is just wrong. There is no guy out. Everybody out there you are okay. Yes. You are good enough. Right. Every guy out there is good enough. But we believe that we're broken. We believe something's deeply flawed. And we believe that something in me is wrong with me.
Yes.
Nothing's wrong with us. The only thing wrong with us is that we think that something's wrong with us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's break that down too, because the who I am question then might lead to the shame, and shame. So this is my experience again. That was a huge thing for me. And that was how I grew up. And defining shame is that you feel that at your core, you are not good.
That's right. That's right.
And separating who you are based upon what behaviors you have exhibited is completely different. Good people do do things wrong and make mistakes, and that's okay. And you can feel guilty about that. Guilty is okay because that helps you course correct. Shame is not, because it makes you feel internally deep down that you are a bad person, and none of us are. I mean, we may have gotten that message growing up. We get that message in our society all of the time, but it is absolutely not true. Who you are at your core is good. Now, to hear the rest of this episode and access the corresponding resources, visit thedivorcedadvocate.com and become a member of our community. It's free to join and will provide you with the resources you deserve as a divorced or divorcing dad. Thank you for listening. God bless, and I'll talk with you next week.